Get it all moved over. Everything looks good. Wonderful. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Mental Health Monday here on Even Tacos Fall Apart. I am very excited to have you here. Very glad that you are taking the time out of your day to join us. As always, we do have a guest on Monday. And if you have a question for our guest tonight, we are talking about understanding emotional highs and lows. If you have a question, oh, you know what? I was just going to say I have a question queue open, but I don't. Hold on. I knew there was something I was forgetting. I will get that set up right now. And if you have a question for us while we are here live, please feel free to enter into the chat in just a moment, just as soon as I get it open, and we will make sure to answer it. But I am joined today by Ryan Reichert, and I'm very excited to talk about understanding emotional highs and lows, especially in a couple of the different directions we're going to go with this. I think it's going to be a really good conversation. So Ryan, thank you so much for agreeing to come on here and joining us today.
Oh, no, thank you so very much for having me on your amazing platform. This is just super excited. So, yeah, Mental Health Monday, definitely great to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I'll tell you guys a little bit about Ryan. I did get that question queue open, so if you have anything you want to ask, feel free to go ahead and pop it in there. But Ryan is a speaker, mindset trainer, executive coach, author, and podcaster who helps people break limiting beliefs, find real purpose, and move forward with more confidence. He is here promoting his second book, The Icarus Effect, which explores emotional highs and lows and how they shape our lives. He spent more than 2 decades in the military and later worked in the corporate world, which gave him experience with pressure, leadership, and real consequences. Ryan is also in recovery from alcohol addiction, and he uses hard-earned lessons to support others who feel overwhelmed or lost. So our focus today is on understanding those intense emotional cycles that many of us, all of us, experience and how they can impact identity, decision-making, and hope. And if you are looking to connect with Ryan anywhere, I've got a couple of links for you. Website, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok. I'm going to post those right now to the chat. Y'all feel free to go in and connect with him. And as always, engagement is key. Make sure you like at least one post, comment on at least one post, and share at least one post, and that'll get us where we need to be. But again, Ryan, thank you so much. I'm so glad that you're here. And I'd love to just kind of kick us off with asking what inspired you to start sharing your own experiences and your own story and help others through your work.
Yeah, it's for me, it's like very divine. When I sobered up, let's see here, in like 10 days, God willing, it'll be 2 years. And just
Congrats.
thinking about, thank you so much. When that happened, we fast forward, unfortunately, through separation, divorce, estrangement with my children. That Fortune 500 job you talked about, I was laid off, and all while still being sober. And I kind of just said I wouldn't drink over it. Things will get better. And in that they did. December of last year, I started the Our Protector LLC business, which at the time I had no idea what it was going to become. And by the end of December, I was writing the first book, God Only Knows When the Devil Comes for You, a Second Chance at Life, which does take you on this journey of my second chance through sobriety, through a broken heart with divorce, and just learning that you have to start over and kind of focus on vision boards and just having that perseverance to get back up again after you've kind of fallen multiple times in a short period, because it had only been a few years since I retired from the military. And yeah, it was just like I'd learned how to listen, I guess, finally for once in my life. And it just, words kind of just flowed. I don't know, from up above through here onto a piece of paper. And yeah, shortly thereafter, the first book, The Icarus Effect, The Highs and Lows of Our Emotions, We All Have Feelings, came to light. And it really was just, I want to say, just a lot of things that happened. In my childhood, I grew up in a small town. My father, recovering alcoholic, suffered PTSD from Vietnam and so forth. And so I think, he had a lot of highs and lows in his life with his emotions. And just like you touched on, we all have, whatever triggers us. If we're unhealed in whatever area, I kind of laugh. I was a little, we were talking about it before we started, but a little worried about like the different things where you have all the tech stuff squared away. I didn't, and I was traveling My flight yesterday from Las Vegas was canceled, and I'm kind of going all over the place, but I promise I'll land this plane. And so in it all, didn't have to pay for the hotel to stay overnight in Las Vegas. I didn't have to pay for a meal, that was covered. Like all these things, and before in life, like my triggering with my emotions and so forth, what would happen is I'd lose it. I'd throw a 2-year-old temper tantrum like in public
Mm,
at almost closer to 50 here than anything else. So the dynamics of that, I guess, is where the divine side of it was like, hey, you were somebody that, was like the guy from Inside Out, the little red dude that flames would come out of his head
yeah.
when it came to your emotions and those feelings, because we all do have feelings that are triggered, whomever we're with, that probably aren't maybe the best people for us in our lives. And we don't understand that till we're a little bit older. And we understand that, unfortunately, we're not always supposed to be with people for the rest of our lives. And that kind of is where it does take you through this. For me, being a boy for 45 years of my life and not being able to tell the truth. And then finally, a couple of years ago, finally coming sober and having to start to tell the truth in everything I do. And today, that lessens those triggers because I know that with the truth, like the greatest outcome will come. It might not look that way. It certainly might seem that way on paper. But in the end, going through all of this in life has kind of just now been I need to tell my story because when you grow up in a small town, if you got a secret, you don't tell it. If there's something that happened in the family, that's not good, we don't talk about that. And so I realized that I had to break all the generational curses that have been stacking up for a number of generations here, a number of decades, actually probably centuries now at this point, but where I'm the one that has to carry it all. And so then my children won't have to deal with it and so on and so forth. And yeah, today that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah. I'm first of all glad you made it home safely. I mean, I know travel right now is not ideal in the US, so glad you made it home, made it through all of that. That's really great. And if anyone hasn't seen the movie Inside Out, I highly recommend it. It's so good. The second one was really good. I would love it if they would make a third and focus on like menopause. Like that's where I think they should go next. I mean, that would skip a lot, right? But they just switch to focus on the mom or something. I think that would be really cool. But those both movies are really, really good. And every time I watch them, I have make sure I have a box of tissues just nearby because
Yeah.
it's that kind of movie. But yeah, that movie covers a lot of different emotions and everything. Do you have a movie you feel more people should take the time to watch?
I mean, it's really funny. My favorite movie growing up was So I Married an Axe Murderer,
I
Mike
love
Myers
that movie.
movie. And it's so funny because when I tell people about it today, they're like, say what? Like, as I see May jumping in the background here, she wants to be on camera. And
Aw.
so, but yeah, she's 3 years old and she's great. She keeps me in line. Yeah,
Perfect.
but yeah, I mean, when I think back, it was like the only movie when we go to Lake the Woods. It was like 2.5 hours from where I grew up in North Dakota, and on those rainy days in the camper, it was like run over to the Northwest Angle Resort, get one of their movies. So for me, it was I was that movie. I always picked that one or Quigley
Mm-hmm.
Down Under, I think. And when I reflect on it through our conversation that we're having, and some of the things that I know that we'll talk about, I just think about when we have the perception versus a perspective versus like the introspection or retrospect. So all the different sides that we can look at something. And for those who haven't seen this movie, I'm sorry because I'm going to do a very poor job at like illustrating that Mike Meyer Charlie, who's of Scottish American descent, ends up maybe finding someone in life and that maybe he can finally settle down with. But he's taking everything out of context everywhere he goes, instead of asking like real questions to the person right in front of him that has all the answers or doesn't have all the answers maybe, and he's too afraid to ask them. And that gets to the heart of, I mean, for me today, with all of our emotional highs and lows, if you can't articulate the, like we have some type of gray area that just we don't know what is going on. Like, but you have a question that formulates from it, I suspect. Why wouldn't you ask that question? Why wouldn't you ask them? Like, I can't figure this out, and it blows my mind today because like with my two girls, a senior in high school and a sophomore in college, like I can ask those questions I would never ask before because like I didn't want to seem like we let pride and ego get in the way here. I wouldn't want them to think, oh, dad doesn't know anything, like he's all educated and he's a businessman and la 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 la. And it's like if I don't know, like I certainly asked today, like it is the
Yeah.
first thing I do, even if it makes me seem like like wow, that was like, 1 + 1 is 2. Hello. And so it's that side of it. So really, when I reflect now on, so I married an axe murderer. I mean, that was what he struggled with. He could never
Hmm.
truly ask just simple questions, and his well, we wouldn't have a movie then either. So and
True.
but it could be very similar to thinking about how he grew up. His dad was, Scottish, very harsh, very matter of fact, to the point. And you think about how his younger brother, how he got picked on the whole movie, and you start thinking
Hmm.
about, like what did Charlie have to go through as the older son, as well? Then probably a lot worse. And those are some of the dynamics that shape, I know, all of us that are out there, listening or who watch this later. We definitely get wrapped up in that, like wherever we came from, who our parents are or were, or maybe they're no longer with us, and we can't ask them those questions. But today, I'd say if they are alive, like have those hard conversations, like because I love today the relationship that I have with my mother and father. Like it would have only come through the brutal honesty and truth, and that maturity that comes with just having an honest conversation with anybody that you want to converse with. So yeah, like talking about movies. So I married an axe murderer, still my favorite. I actually bought the DVD last year for fun, just because I knew we were going to like the lake again, and
Hmm.
my mom only has, I think, maybe she actually has the VHS and DVD TV still to this day, like in
Yeah.
the camper.
Yeah.
But I did. I got Quigley Down Under, and so I married an axe murderer, and yeah, so we had those two movies last year when we went up to the lake, and still love them both. I'd watch them again tonight if I wanted to burn through 3 or 4 hours of my life,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
don't have time.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to put that movie on again. It's come up a couple of times. Not so my family gets together and like most of our conversations are just references wrapped. Like the conversation is just a conversation of references back and forth. And it comes up like we'll say like head moves like all just and just all these little things
Dude,
and it's
dogs,
like
no!
yeah. So that's such a good one though. It's a really good one. I'll have to put it on because I don't know if my kids have seen it. And I was just thinking like
Right.
are they I mean obviously the oldest one is old enough to see it, but is the 12-year-old old enough to really understand? I think he is. I think he's there. So we'll
Oh
see.
yeah. Oh yeah. I
Well,
was gonna
well
say understand. Yes, there might be a lot of I don't know what type of innuendos and stuff like that.
oh,
Maybe I don't know, but
he's okay with that. I mean, we're pretty like you're talking about not wanting to ask the questions. We're a very ask the questions family, and so
yeah.
anytime anything like that comes up, he'll ask, and I'll my question back to him is like, "Do you really want to know? Because I'll explain it to you." And sometimes he's like, "You know what? Never mind." And then sometimes he's like, "No, I really want to know," and I'll explain it, and it's just like, "Okay, if you want to know, you're gonna know." But yeah, I mean,
Yep.
it's and so I think it's a good one for him to watch also to reinforce that a little bit to say like you need to ask questions. It's important to ask the questions. He's not shy about asking questions though, so I don't think that's too bad, but that's a good one. Quickly Down Under I haven't even thought of in so long. That's not one that I know I've seen it and I've probably seen it a couple of times, but at my like great grandmother's house, I think she had it on VHS, and that's probably the last time I saw it was when she was alive. So that's a good one.
Yeah.
I'll have to go back and watch that one again too. So, when you think about emotional highs and lows, what does that mean to you in real life terms?
Yeah. I like when I think of it, I just look at like my life and seeing it. So like growing up, like very athletic, and so me as a freshman in high school, I was on the varsity football team. like super exciting, right? Friday Night Lights, woo! And so like emotional high, pride, ego, like everything's amazing. And 3 games into the season, I blew my left knee out. And you want to talk about an emotional low all of a sudden, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the head cheerleader that you're going to homecoming with, like, goes with a different guy because, like, obviously you're, got a brace on your leg and you can't dance and so on and so forth. And so, like, that, like, took me down a road of, hanging out with the wrong folks, starting to drink, prescription drugs got
Mm.
brought into life at 14 years old. And so I just look at that constantly in my life of like, so like epic high, severe low, like, and being a teenager, you don't realize then what life's going to look like. Am I ever going to play again? Am I ever going to, like, you want to, when I was 12 years old, I was either going to be a professional football player or a firefighter. So at the end of the day, like, it's one of those where it's like, okay, now where do I go?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't realize that you fast forward a couple of years and, you're back, the captain of the football team. Everything's going great and wonderful. And you go a little bit further down the road, and the next thing you know, like, you're in the army, you're an airborne ranger, and you're in Afghanistan leading like 31, men, like, throughout the mountains and stuff. And so, like, there's always peaks and valleys. I left out a low in there. Maybe I got arrested when I played rugby in college and stuff like that for drinking and driving, and another low of it. And I think when I reflect, I don't have it in here in front of me. I was reading a book on the plane ride home this afternoon, and it's by Dr. Ishan Shivanand. He's a modern monk, and his writings are very similar to mine, obviously, just from a different perspective, from another side of the world. And it's just really interesting when it's like where we're at with our mind and talking about that pride and ego and like what does it play? Does it play in the physical realm or does it play in the, mental realm, the mindset side of things, and where does that allow it? And as a young man, I think a lot of times it gets very caught up easily in the physical, but we never realize that where it really lives is in the mental side of it and the mindset side. And that's why I think today, through a lot of the stuff that I coach, teach, and mentor on is really like focusing on harnessing the entities of it and to be able to compartmentalize like how mature are you, in your emotional intelligence. Because like our overall intelligence, you can't like leaps and bounds. You're kind of born with what you're born with. Like you can certainly coax a little bit out of it, but we're not talking about like 30 IQ points here. We're talking about like 5 to 14 from the other side of it. But from like when you think about social skills and emotional intelligence, I mean, you can become Einstein when it comes to that side of it because you can really educate yourself or be coached through that. Harvard has an amazing study that I certainly utilize from their program, and some of my teachings out of the Icarus effect and so forth. And it's just even how we like when I think about naming your emotions versus like well, it's more your feelings than anything because like if I was to say something rude to you, right, it would hurt your feelings, and then therefore it would invoke an emotion that would cause you, well, maybe, I don't know, to end the show early. I don't know. But, anyways, it's one of those dynamics of like, if it's like being an empath. And so, like, like feel someone's tone, like, I can get their feelings and emotions in their tone of their voice, their body language, so on and so forth. And you just start to pick up on that and the dynamics when you communicate with somebody is if you have a low emotional intelligence, like you're gonna be the caveman, right? Like obviously knock you over the head, drag you back to the cave, whatever. But in today's society, where we're kind of COVID did this to us, right? It trapped us inside the computer, and it's fantastic. Don't get me wrong, I love this. You're in Texas, like I'm in
Yeah.
Minnesota. This would we would have never met without COVID, probably, right? But the dynamics of it are we lose some of that when it comes to you can just sit on this side and not pay attention. I can look at the window here and talk this way, and hopefully everyone could still hear me by doing that. But you don't have that intuition like where like I can tell you're someone that like we're like locked here, like
Yeah.
eyes like through the computer, like and very connected. But this is the same if a person's like literally sitting next to you, like on the couch at a dinner table, like, I watched too many people. I was stuck in Las Vegas, and like how few people like talking to each other. They're either like obviously watching a football game, and know the Raiders and the Cowboys are playing tonight, so like whoever else is like watching that. But there's
Let's see.
all
Let's
these
see.
different dynamics.
See
What's
what the
that?
score is. See what the score is real quick.
Oh,
Okay, we're doing all right. We're doing all right. No, I'm
okay.
just kidding.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome. Yeah, but really these connections we have, and like how in tune are you to whoever you spend time with in your
Yeah,
life? And I noticed that both my girls, a lot of it, towards probably the tail end of my relationship with their mother was, I was probably trapped, like trying to escape life in this thing.
right.
And then, obviously drowning my feelings in, alcohol or prescription drugs and numbing, I didn't want to feel like, right, that pain was too much for me. And it was because I had a weak mind. Really, at
Mm,
the end of the day, that's all it really was. And so there's ways to actually work your mind out, just like you would going to the gym
yeah,
for, your muscles or your cardiovascular fitness. You can do it for your mental and mindset. And then when I really think about that, it goes all the way back to, months of like physical therapy. Yeah, like 1993, 1994. I mean, it was over a year of like physical therapy, the Frapier program and training. Uh, I had to do it all over again in my military career because I destroyed my other leg, many years later. Um, and you start to just realize that that is a part of life. These
yeah.
emotional highs and lows are, you just want to create though the frequency to not be so high and so low. So today my mine kind of looks like, just a nice little ripple in the river, the lake, whatever it looks like, and so forth. So like I said, my flight being canceled, I was like, I know that there's going to be a greater good that comes from all of this. And it's just really interesting when you can actually regulate your emotions in such a way that, like, I certainly feel everything from a hypersense, but I just don't have that spike in emotion anymore, either high or low.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of months though of like putting in a lot of work. You do the cold plunge stuff, you do the sauna stuff, you do the different things to basically dysregulate or deregulate, probably not deregulate yourself in such a way that you can handle all this stuff that you once
Mm-hmm.
would, you couldn't handle.
I
So,
build that resilience. It's I like hearing you
yep.
talk about it as something that you can build because it's definitely one of those things that I've been talking about. I mentioned my 12-year-old is going through some like mood changes and everything. And just today after school, he was having a hard morning this morning and I didn't want to get into it with him this morning. I was just like, let's get you ready, let's get you gone. And then whenever he got home, I said, how's your day? He said it was a good day. He was a little tired in the morning. I'm like, okay, great. Let's talk about this morning. And I was talking to him about like, these are skills you're building, this ability to self regulate, this ability to know when you need to self regulate. That's something you're learning, and it's all very much a skill. And I think that it's difficult for a lot of people to realize that it is something you can build. Like we talk about it as, oh, it's a skill, but it's an acquirable skill. And I love hearing you say that because it is absolutely something that you can build on learn and kind of just grow that within what you're dealing with in your life. And that looks different. I know that looks different for everyone, and we'll get into that in a minute too, but it's just kind of one of those that realization of making sure that you understand this is something I can work on is huge for a lot of people because it's not something that we were, at least not in my age, we weren't taught that as kids. I'm sure you weren't taught that as a kid. That wasn't something that it was like, I shut down a lot of my emotions as a result of, okay, this is what's expected of me. uh, I'm not, getting the feedback that I want. So I had to kind of self teach a little bit and I took it too far. And so now it's like, how do we make sure that we're explaining to our kids that, hey, this is something that you got to figure out how to keep it looking like this because you don't want to be all down here and you don't want to be all up here and you don't even want to be just straight in the middle. There is always going to be that up and down. But yeah, just describing it as that something that's buildable, something that is a skill is definitely one of those things that I'm really glad to hear you say it that way for sure. Yep, I see. Yes, Blue Bedlam. Thank you. I see that. Yep, I got it. Gotta. Now what have I done? Oh, there we go. Okay, I think I fixed it. having a chat issue. We got it though. So you've already mentioned some of the challenges that you've faced in life. What experience shaped your understanding of emotional highs and lows the most?
Yeah. I would say for me, it was, I mean, I think about the divorce process
Mm,
and having your heart broken at, 45. Like, what I mean by that is I certainly, like, takes two. It was definitely both of us, like, not being compatible after 25 years. And the dynamics of, like, not listening to each other anymore,
hmm.
not wanting to hear, and change, like, I guess maybe per se, or maybe you only really change once you lose it all. Like, I mean, like, I literally lost everything over, you know, about a year. And the cool thing was, though, like, I wouldn't change any of it today, right? Like, it's this dynamic of seeing that. I love Rocky, like the Rocky movies. And so it's I think of, just everything. And I was actually thinking this the other day. I was started writing a new book, and it's like, the first fight, like, it loses. And, it's like, okay, well, obviously, how many years ago now? Almost 50 years ago, probably coming up. But, like, it's the dynamic of, okay, well, is there going to be a second one? And then the second one, obviously he wins. Third one loses. Fourth one, like, loses his best friend, but wins the, like, and there's so much of this, I guess, was that when I look through that process of how I healed, and that's really what it was, is I was so broken,
Mm.
that there was only one real way I could go, and that was just to every day, you know, and some of it looked like, me, who was just jumping in the screenshot, like her going like, dude, like, if you don't get off the couch, like, right now, I'm going to do my business on the floor.
Yeah.
And, like, um, what's that? Then you're gonna be mad at me, and it wasn't me because you were too lazy to get up and take me out. And, you don't realize in the moment, like, how many steps it takes to get on this side of, like, I mean, if you were to think of life as just like climbing the mountaintop or whatever into, obviously your destiny of wherever your beliefs take you. Um, it really looks like climbing up. It's a big mountain, and then all of a sudden, like, you get to the top, and then you see, like, oh no, I got to go down in the valley and then up again, and and so on and so forth, and realize that um, that's just what life is. That's what life is all about. Life would be so boring, if we didn't have these emotional highs and lows, because what are you gonna do? Go to Baskin Robbins like every day of your life and just have your raspberry sorbet like when I was a kid that I loved to have, and I go visit my grandma out in California because we didn't have 31 flavors in North Dakota. I just, the dynamics of, like, you need a little bit of pain to, like, self-regulate in the way of, like, to get better. I mean, whatever that looks like, if it's, from a physical side, a mental side, the emotional side, all the different pieces of us that makes us human. We we need that suffering, that struggle to, want to maybe achieve a little bit more, to do better than we once were. And then, like, once you finally figure out what you really love to do, like what your true passion is, like, then wow, watch out, because, like, I mean, it doesn't mean every single day you're, like, climbing that mountain, but, like, you're certainly putting in a little bit of work here and there. I mean, I used to never read, like, like, you want me to read what? Like, what's in it for me? Like, kind of thing. I better get something out of this. And now it just, like, you read for the pure enjoyment that someone put, you know, days, weeks, years of their life. Like, how many books did they read to create that one book that you're reading? Could be 10, could be 100, could be 1,000, depending on who they are. And so those are the things to me that I just, she was a school teacher for 40 plus years, and seeing, like, our educators today and what they have to put up with, because what us as parents believe is best for our children, right? Like, because we just never want to see them grow up, or we never want to see them hurt, and we never want all these things. I get that. But we get in the way of like our kids truly being educated, like to where like, they're gonna, have bad grade. Like, so what? You get a bad grade, like, like that probably teaches you some humility, right? Like,
Hmm.
because you didn't put the time in, you didn't read the coursework. And so that's where I look at my life and reflect on it and go like, for every, and 10 bad days, it's like, what do you learn from both sides of it? And like, are you truly humble from your experiences? Like, like you should want to, you shouldn't want to be a loser, but like at the end of the day, like you should like realize that those are when you actually take some lessons in.
Yeah.
I don't remember any of my wins. I mean, it's just one of those things. Like we as I think people as a society, you know, um, I don't know if it's possible to really, because if you get seduced by your wins, you probably just stop doing, and that's where there's that side of it. If we embrace that too much, then there's no improvement ever. And then if there was no failure, where would we have, you know? I'm in Minnesota, like so. You want to talk about belief and so on and so forth. The Minnesota Vikings are still believing, that there's a Super Bowl trophy in their future. So it's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah. Yeah. And and also just there's all these phrases of like no rain, no rainbows. I think that gives you the context in addition to okay, well, now I can appreciate this win because I've had these lows sometimes. But then you said, you don't remember your wins because you're constantly moving the goalpost. It's like, oh, that was a win yesterday. That wouldn't be a win today because I already won it yesterday. So I think that the highs are a lot harder to enjoy sometimes because we constantly push them as like, well, that's not the high anymore. Now that's the expectation kind of. Do you think it's possible to experience both a high and a low at the same time? Is that common?
Yeah, yeah, I definitely. Um, I think there's that dynamic. Most days. I mean, really,
Mhm.
in the side. And what I mean by this is the only way I can put it for me to really understand it is you go to the gym and you lift weights and you're done and you're sore and all these things, right? You feel weaker, right? But you're actually getting stronger.
Mhm.
The more you read, uh, I don't know, less intelligent. The word I would use is dumber. You feel, and so these dynamics happen where like you're getting both, but you don't realize it, like because you're like, whoa, like I read 50 pages out of that book today. That was amazing, but why do I feel less intelligent now after
Mhm.
doing it? And so it's because as you gain more, of that information, which then creates knowledge, the dynamic is you like start to realize like that you don't know it all. And for me, was I a know-it-all? I probably called myself that at some point in my life, thinking I had it all figured out. Certainly don't. But realizing that all you can do is just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and the next thing you know, you walk a marathon or whatever it looks like in life. I mean, that's the coolest thing about it to me today is realizing that I might not feel like I won today, but at the same time, like I figured out that Discord, like, like if you just do what someone tells you to do, like it can, next thing you know, we're talking and typing and so on and so forth to one another. Um, Realizing that, I was worried I was going to be late, to our 8:15, but knowing that we weren't starting until 8:30, like helped, like kind of thing. And I was on time. But these are all dynamics like that are, they're not life or death things here. These are
Mhm.
just simple tasks. And I like to talk about analysis paralysis a lot when it comes to working with clients, and like how fast can you make a decision. And what I mean by this is like our emotions can really slow this down because it's money involved. Normally that's like an instant one to slow people way down, right? Like so or is it going to take away from something that you enjoy doing, like outside of, X, Y, or Z? And there's emotions, well, there's feelings involved in this that then create those emotions. And that in itself is what slows someone from getting where you want to be in life. Like when you're trying to look at, all right, I want to, oh, what's a good one? Well, I don't know. Let's use just writing a book. That can be one because like the dynamics of it can be very daunting or whatever. But
Hmm.
like if you literally spend 30 minutes a day writing, just 30 minutes a day, I guarantee in a year you'll have some amazing novel written just with 30 minutes a day. And I think of like, some of the stuff that I do for 30 minutes a day that I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a lunch and, I'm going to get on my phone and, I'm going to like, I'll just check this out for a minute. The next thing you know, you're like, oh, that was like 45 minutes, and
Yep.
I have no idea what I did. And so when we focus, and that's something that I really love. And when I always think of acronyms, no matter what like words out. That's a military thing. It's just unfortunately. So when I think of focus, it's faith, opportunity, consistency, unconditional kindness, and then the standard. And so for some folks, like if you can't like start with your faith because you just don't have faith practices, or maybe you don't believe in anything bigger than yourself or whatever that is, that's fine. But at least start on the other end of the spectrum with the standard. And so whatever you allow to happen in your life, like if you say like, okay, today, like New Year's is coming up. So this is gonna be amazing. Like, like we're gonna see a skyrocket in treadmill sales and elliptical sales, gym memberships, all this stuff, because it's the first of the year and it's coming. And so for 7 days after the first of the year, like it's great. You can't even get into any of those places. You can't buy a treadmill. You can't, but you wait like 8 days, 31 days, like you can get yourself a gently used treadmill, a gently used elliptical. Like there's no one in the gyms anymore. And that same goes for like ours when we're like, what is your standard? Like it's not if you do it for 7 days. It's like, what are you going to get up every single day and say you're going to do? And then do it and execute it.
Hmm.
So if that looks like 30 minutes a day, like writing a book or just journaling. Journaling is amazing because instead of venting to your best friend or your mom or your dad or your cousin or your sister, your brother, whoever, the dog, you journal. That's literally like venting, like you're doing it to yourself. And the coolest thing about
Hmm.
it is you can reflect and see those feelings and emotion like that you're having right in front of you versus like someone told me this the other day and I really laughed and I was like, you know what you are like when you call your best friend like to and those feelings turn into emotions and then you have to just word vomit them. You're a clown. Like you're an actor in your own movie and like literally some of your friends enjoy this or whatever because they're just like, man, Ryan, like I love it. He calls me out every Monday. It's like clockwork, like because he goes to work and like there's so and so like Bill at work that like gets on his nerves and like boom, lunchtime he's calling me. And it's so true. When they like kind of like illustrated that to me, I was like, holy cows, that used to be me. I'd sit around the water cooler and just like sit there and like, I'm a giant clown, like so and so, like, and while they're working, getting stuff done. And, so today I look at it as like journaling is the best thing we can do individually because then you don't waste like your friend's time, which
Mm.
maybe depending on who your friend is, maybe they really, like I said, enjoy it and so forth, and
Me.
they
I
have the time
enjoy
to
it.
waste.
Call me. Tell me the drama. I want it. I want the drama. If it's not my drama, I want it.
See, I'm so like anti-drama. Like the last probably, oh boy, what are we in November? Yeah, probably 3 to 4 months. Like it's just now I can't have anything to do with anybody with drama. Like
Uh,
I'm sorry. Like go take this assessment and go over there. Like I can't handle it at all.
mhm.
And I don't know if it's because I finally healed through like all the stuff that I was carrying around for the last 46 and change or whatever it is, but like I don't it just brings me to a place where it's like, yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
no, sorry. Can't really deal with it.
Nope.
Not deal with
I
it. I don't
watch
want to deal with it.
Yeah. I watch reality shows and stuff to get a daily dose of not daily, but to get a dose of drama. I'm like, yes, I need it. but I don't want it. I don't want the drama in my life. I need it to be in
I
someone
got you. So
else's
it's
life.
for pure
Yeah.
entertainment.
Yeah.
It's
Or
just
or if it's a
entertainment.
friend, it's to, make it feel like I'm helping and giving them a sounding board. Like if it's someone that I know, then of course I want that to be helpful for them. But you said you were
Yeah.
talking about, kind of the more you start to learn about, the more dumb you feel and everything. And that made me think of the Dunning-Kruger effect. So I posted a link to the Dunning-Kruger effect, which is where you start off knowing nothing. You get to like the peak of Mount Stupid, where it's like you think you know everything, and then you start reading more and you get down into the valley of despair, and then you go up a little bit because you're reading and learning, and it's a slope of enlightenment, and you finally get to that plateau of sustainability where you're like, okay, now I understand everything about this. I've studied it enough that now I'm an expert in it. But it's very much the like, sometimes your confidence in something is really high and your knowledge is really low, and it's, I love that whole concept and the whole, just all of that. It always fascinates me to go through that with someone, of like, where are you on this scale right now?
Yeah, no, it's so true. It's like, it's like the ability to, sell like what's the old saying, like iced Eskimos or like,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is, ketchup popsicle, woman in white gloves. And yeah, I mean that to me is like if I don't have like a that general basis like necessary, I'm like I'm sorry, you're not okay. I can have an opinion on it. It's not an educated opinion, and
Yeah.
it's certainly it's just that it's an interesting dynamic, and
Mm-hmm.
it is something where I think well, I was talking to someone the other night about a chat GPT, and I was like, hey, did you ask, or no, there's somebody I was with or whatever asked them, like, do you have it yours set up to where like they go to actual like factual things first, like versus like just the whatever
Mm-hmm.
a fictional article, and like, oh no, I just like talked to it and like whatever, and so like whatever it was spitting out, I was like, oh, that's just a news article from one of the little National Enquirer, like kind of thing. It's
Yeah.
like it was bogus, like information. And, so to me, it's like if you're okay with that, I mean, hey, great. But, like I would prefer, I guess, to have a little bit more factual information
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to things. So those dynamics, just like you're saying, it's fun reality TV. I laugh. When I leave, I put the TV on for the dog, and the channel that always pops up, just like if you hit the on off button, is like the Kardashians like reality show
Oh
or whatever.
yeah.
And I'd never watched that, but now that when it's on and I come in, I might not turn the TV off and I come home or
Mm-hmm.
something and I'm hearing this stuff, I'm like, yeah, I can see how this sucks you in a little bit.
Yep.
Like,
Yep. Yep. You
because it's not my drama.
get a little dose of it, and that's all you need. So, do you think that the emotional highs and lows, do they naturally change with age or life experience, or do you really have to work at it? We're talking about it as a skill. Do you really have to intentionally work at it, or does it come with just age and life experience usually?
I don't think, for me personally, I don't think it's, I mean, sure, I got it figured out now. I'm as young as I right now as I'm ever going to be, and I'm
True.
older than I was 5 seconds ago. Um, but no, I believe you have to work at it because I see plenty of people that are many moons and many rotations around the sun than I, and that can't, they don't have any control over their emotions,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. So, and it blows me away because you just think over time and space, you would like, it's kind of like the river that erodes, like the riverbed and so forth, or the rock that cracks because of it and so forth, the drops of water. And it really is something like the emotional maturity. um and I'll just look in it real quick here because I got the Icarus effect in front of me, and it talks about just the ability to strengthen your social skills. Harvard constitutes a 100-minute rule focused on dedicating 100 minutes each week to practicing. Just this is simple stuff: eye contact, non-initial engagement, asking open-minded questions, and connection. This is just literally, though, for someone to have the ability to connect to another human being. So therefore, when we are talking about these emotions that happen, like they can they would feel a certain, like each person would feel it in such a way that like you could start to regulate your feelings and then emotions as you have a discussion. We're talking about like the same people because
Mm-hmm.
like I know how it is for your family, but like I know my family, like you got like the different folks, like aunts, uncles, cousins, brothers, sisters, whatever, that like you're like, all right, I guess I can handle 3 hours at Thanksgiving or whatever, but they're going to lose it at about an hour and five, and then we're going to have, 2 hours of drama and, so on and so forth. And then it'll be better by Christmas. But, by the time we'd have Easter again, all these different dynamics because of it's just, you don't have that connection that they're talking
Mm-hmm.
about here. And then, the ability just to have like real small talk, not like, like, oh my goodness, can you believe what, Aunt Karen and Uncle Jim, like, what they're up to and they're doing? Like, I just think it's ridiculous. But, just talking through, the different pieces of it. And then like actually understanding like the micro learning side of like facial expressions and like seeing when you say something and like you can literally pick up like, how the other person takes it, like, because they're probably not going to say anything about it, but like if you did, offend them and, maybe it's, you didn't think of it in an offensive way and it wasn't offensive really, but like, you have the tight lip, so on and so forth. You have a little bit of the eye glares and things and starting to learn from, just being oblivious because what I've found out in different studies is we literally we don't listen. We literally want to respond to everything. We never listen to each other, and we just talk because our brains are just like hot wired with as much information as we pull a day from social media, from all the stimulus that we get everywhere else, like in our day to day lives, we never just like retract ourselves, from it all. Like to me, I love like, sitting in silence and meditating and so on and so forth and getting away from the noise. That it's one today where, yeah, when I was talking to Sean like last week, the modern monk and, he's like, just talking about meditating. I'm like, I meditate like a hundredth of what these guys do, when it comes to their meditation practices. But I like know how connected I am today and that ability to really hear um, what's supposed to happen. Like we're removing all of my entity from it and just really picking up on everything that's around and seeing like how things change. Um, and I guess it's a control, like, when you remove the control element from everything in your life, and just let it flow, it's unbelievable the things that like happen, because everything's going to be okay, and there wasn't anything you could do to like really control it at the end of the day. I mean, you could, but it it was going to break sooner or later, like because you can't carry that glass ball so perfectly, that it wouldn't crack, kind of thing. So, yeah, it's just really interesting, I guess, when I think about it. So, yeah.
I think that a lot of us are guilty of listening to respond instead of understand, and that's another skill that you can build. You can build that listening to really understand. You mentioned the micro expressions, and this is an example of me listening to respond because I've been holding on to this for that going back like 2 points now. But did you ever watch the show Lie to Me? It's
I think I
I
have. It
can't remember
sounds.
the guy. It wasn't a really long running show, but it's excellent. It's all about micro expressions. It's a
Yeah.
2009 show. What's the guy's name? The main actor's name. Oh,
Just
I can't remember, but it's a very fun show to watch. Obviously fictional, and you can't take a fictional show. Tim Roth, yes, thank you. There we go. Yeah, it's very good. And it's a, mostly focused on micro expressions and just his interpretation of them and solving crimes with them, also, which is pretty neat.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was just thinking of what's let's see if I can spell Brian's last name correctly. But he teaches this. He's a great seminar leader, keynote speaker. Brian Galke. It's Brian Brian. Galke's Galke. He's subtle skills.
Subtle skills, yeah.
So, yeah. Anyways, he teaches that, and it's pretty cool. Like, cause he'll I was at a conference and, it's like, read me, read me. And, he's like, oh, you have this and you have that. And you're like, you carry a lot of this like on your shoulders, anyways, it's remarkable. Like these experts when it comes to it all, just like you're saying, lie to me anyways. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a
it's
great
pretty
show.
special. Yeah.
So you're open about overcoming alcohol addiction. We talked about it a little bit earlier. Can you talk a little bit about the emotional lows that led to that struggle and what the turning point was for you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I think I'd carried so much of, just every bad thing that I did in my life. And, you don't ever want to tell people when you mess things up or screw things up, right? You carry that shame blanket and weighs 1,000 pounds. And, I'd been running from, everything in life for years. Thinking I was doing great and wonderful things by like serving our country, deploy, and like you want that pat on the back, because you could do it. And, good Lord allowed me to come home every time. And, we also were in the game of, work hard, play harder. So it was okay, I guess. And then for me, I didn't want to be like my father. And what I didn't realize is like, it was okay to surrender. He had been a recovering alcoholic. This past March was 40 years. Pretty cool to actually be sober and, celebrate his birthday with him, for that. And, that was the dynamic, I think, always. I didn't want to be like my father. And I didn't realize, though, that like everything that he was okay.
Mm,
And, it's just my perception of it, like being weak to surrender, being weak to, do this versus that. And I guess in all that, um, I was just so sick and tired of lying to everyone that like I believed that I loved. But if you love them, like, why would you lie to them? And it was only
mhm,
because I was afraid. I was a little boy, in a man's world. And it's one where the greatest gift that I've ever been given in life was, yeah, to become sober. And it's one of those where, people listening might hear that and go like, wasn't it you to give it up and stop drinking? And it has nothing to do with the alcohol or the prescription drugs. Those are just symptoms. And it's the whole side of where you're hiding your feelings that create those emotions for you to continue to suppress it with some form of a, depressant or whatever it looks like, or stimulant in your life. What's crazy about it all is like, as humans, we're all addicts of something. And
mhm,
it's like, what's acceptable. And, like for me, I'm like, I love being called an alcoholic today. I mean, it's my superpower, because I realized that by doing a certain set of things for me, um, I've I've been more productive, constructive, and whatever in 2 years' time than I was in the 33 years of my drinking career. If that makes any sense to someone under the sun, then you give you $1, I guess, because you can't make it up like that. You're telling me, of all the things that I did in all those years, that yeah, like you could literally blow it all out of the water in such a short amount of time by literally just putting in some work and
mhm,
surrendering, like literally surrendering. But I think that's the hardest thing. I mean, I know, like I said, I couldn't do it. I mean, I advised the Saudi Arabian army, a couple times, and their biggest thing is all they're there for to do is to protect the kingdom, to defend the kingdom. And for us Western world, the Americans, like, we don't need to defend anything. We need to be on the offense. We need to go conquer the world. And so I think just for me, that mental switch was very hard to make, happen. And now that it did, I'm like, oh. I think of like the Karate Kid, and Danielson's like, when are you going to teach me karate? It's like, wax the car, paint the fence. And it's like the whole
mhm,
time he was, but you can't see it, right? And so that's what's really cool about today in the surrender is, I know all the greatest gifts are going to come to me, and it's the attractiveness of it all that you attract versus chase. Because if you chase something, it's just going to run faster and faster away from you, and that kind of has to do with faith versus fear from one side or another, and understanding that everything's going to work out perfectly fine. It's not going to look out the way you believe it's supposed to look, but it's going to be so much better. So you just have to accept it.
What's the biggest misconception people have about their negative emotions like sadness or anger or fear?
Yeah, so this is one that I love talking about because we always hear the mantra more positive thinking, and so forth, and it's not. It's less negative thinking. So um, we have anywhere from 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts a day, depending on what side of the spectrum you are. And then of those, 80% are negative and 95% are repetitive. So um, I'm not a math major, but I do know that if you're telling me it's 80% negative already, just to tip the scale in the opposite way, if we could be what 31%, less negative, that would tip the scale, and so forth. The only problem is it'd have to be more than that because of the repetitive side of things that then doubles down on it, and that's really hard to do because it's just the natural human, ability of like the perspective shift of like, well, I just be positive, and it's like, well, it doesn't work that way because you're still going to have a thought that creeps in that's negative, and then it goes on auto repeat like at X percentage. So in that, the dynamic really becomes in your sadness. I always just say you can't clean up the whole room. Well, pick up a pair of socks and put them in the hamper. You can't clean all the dishes, clean a dish. The dynamic of what it looks like, if you're 1% better every single day, you'll be 37% better by the end of the year. And so, like, that compounding effect goes in the opposite direction. It just, that's why when they talk about clutter and, if you have a cluttered home, like, you're going to have a cluttered mind and all these things. And it's like, yeah, but the house doesn't just go straight into feng shui perfect mode, if it was messy. And so that's where just start with something simple. And for those of us that like self-diagnose myself, I must have ADHD because like it's the dynamics of being able to do multiple different things, but at the same time then going like I'm enjoying this is it's the same, but I'm the same way. I don't want to clean like the whole house. Like today I'll clean the toilet, in one bathroom, and then I'll clean the sink in the other bathroom. And like people be like, well, why want you to clean it? It's just like, it's not how my mind works and the
Mm-hmm.
time that we're going through things. But sooner or later, everything will get clean. You just have to realize what works for you is really when we go back to like listening and kind of understanding where do you want to take it because you might not get to steer your bicycle, but like you do get to pedal. So the dynamic of what that means is like just start, just start.
Mm-hmm.
No one becomes a doctor overnight, like, but you at least have to take the biology class, like, or, whatever that looks like in the next dynamic. And I think that's where a lot of people, you know, I mean, I go to like writing books because you know, 80% of the world wants to write a book, only 2% does it. So what does that mean then, right? Like it's just follow through. It's all about like starting and just doing 1% a day until you complete the task at hand. So
Mm-hmm.
whatever that looks like. And it's hard because when we think about being sad, um, I've been sad for, like, I mean, I'm not sad right now because we're in an engaging conversation, but I bet you $5 when this is all over, I might have a letdown of sadness might creep in because you go from having a great conversation for over an hour with somebody and really connecting, and then you're like, all right, oh the dog's here, and like do you turn the TV on? Do you go to bed? What are those dynamics? And I guess that's what I want to convey to anybody out there listening is like those are the highs and lows that we've been talking about over the last hour. Is you don't know, but what you can do in all this that we've talked about is work on it in a way that you can learn it. You can, um, you don't need to be stuck in it, I guess. And so for me, I always like, and I'm not shamelessly plugging myself here because, I'm a mindset coach or a trainer or anything like that. But last time I checked, go back to the football game, how many coaches are on that team? I mean, quarterback coach, running back coach, secondary, all these different things, right? There's a coach for everything. Like if you're struggling in life in a certain area, like you better have a coach. Like, I mean, my businesses that I have or whatever, darn right I got a sales coach, because I didn't grow up in the world of sales. Like you can tell me in the
Hmm.
military where I was selling anything, like in the dynamics. I'm a risk management guy, like that's where I carry like my weight in life. Like, I don't get caught up in the analysis paralysis of making decisions. So, but I know a lot of folks will be like, well, how much does it cost to have a coach? Like
Hmm.
how much time is it going to take? Well, how much time is it going to take you to do it without having a coach? How much is it going to cost you without having a coach? Like, you're probably never going to do it because there's no piece of it like to hold yourself accountable. And then we can go in the whole aspect of accountability versus responsibility side of things and like going like, well, I'm growing man, woman, whatever. I don't need to do anything but, pay my bills or my taxes and so on and so forth. And it's like, but what do you really want in life?
Hmm.
Like what are your goals, dreams, and aspirations? Because I should hope it wasn't like mine when, I retired from the military and got very complacent and was like, well, I'll just sit in this job until I'm 59 and a half and I retire. Man, I think about that today and I was like, way to set the bar real high, Ryan. Way to set the bar real high. Because now I'm like, work until, I die in the sense of like, um, it's not work if you love what you're doing. Those are both four-letter words, work and love. So to me, they don't hurt anymore, I guess, kind of thing. And maybe in a previous life, as I always like to say, is like, yeah, I would look at them in a different way. And so, like, find what you're passionate about, and that's where you figure it out. It comes at a cost, it comes at a sacrifice, for sure. But yeah, so very interesting though, not to get stuck in those in a rut in such a way where it's okay to be sad.
Hmm.
It's just that it's not okay to, want to just make that like the status quo, I guess. Like, like I always say, show me your circles and I'll show you your level of success. And what I mean by that is like you sometimes, unfortunately, like have to kind of, isolate yourself from certain, you know, people, places, and things that can cause you to be a detriment. And peer pressure is a real thing. Even outside of high school, college, and whatever, it still exists. And that can have a real pull on you when it comes to kind of like that sadness we're talking about, and so forth. So yeah.
Yeah. How can you mentioned being stuck? How can someone determine if they are stuck either in a high or a low, or maybe just in one particular feeling?
I would say normally someone will say something about it, like,
Mm.
and it's like this cautionary tale, right? It's like the check engine light like on your car, and you won't notice it, right? Because it'd be like, you know, he told that to so and so the other day. He's just a worrier or whatever it is, and it's like, no, that's the check engine light, kind of
Mhm.
thing. The hard thing about it is though, until like it all falls apart, all four tires fall off, kind of thing. That's just the solid check engine light. It's not the flashing check engine light. When it's flashing, that's when it's really bad. And that's when you go take it in. It's just the solid one, so it's not that big of a deal. If anything, it's probably like just a simple like glitch in the circuit or whatever. And that's the hard thing, unfortunately, though. In my reflection of most of the folks that like I end up working with. coaching, mentoring, whatever. It's the catastrophic side of it,
Mm.
unfortunately.
Mhm.
I love to always like be let's get in before, like that when the check engine light's on versus flashing, or just completely stuck on the side of the road. We got to put a whole new engine in it. But it always comes down to it, it's like time, money, the decision maker, which is crazy because I would hope everyone in their own self existence could make a decision to like the betterment of their life. But we just always see, you know, whatever else is in front of us, the dynamics of, having a, like vacation, right? I used to take vacations like probably every other month. I'm pretty blessed, like in another life when it comes to like starting to think about like certain things, but I was escaping reality. I was having to
Mm.
leave and vacation from like the reality of life, go to some exotic place or whatever. Um, Today it's like works the vacation. Like I just got back from supporting someone at a summit in Utah. It was amazing, and that was work, right? It's the dynamic shift. Like you just
Mhm.
shift what things look like. And I know a lot of folks listening are probably like, "Oh, it's very unrealistic," like it sounds delusional almost. And it's just what are you going to sacrifice, I guess, to truly, have what you want in life. Certainly came at a cost, but as my life continues to reform itself, it was exactly what it was supposed to become in it. It's the dynamics of, you spend 25 years in one entity versus 25 years in another and another 20, whatever that looks like. It's just blocks of time. It's not, forever. And
Mhm. So aside from an external observation, are there any like self checks you can do to figure out, am I stuck in
yeah,
this emotion? Am I stuck in this high? Am I stuck in this low?
yeah. I mean, I would say, I look at, so for me, I'm good with this one, but sometimes I'd rather have people look at it a different way. So like, it's like looking in the mirror. And, unfortunately, when we look in the mirror, we normally see like the negative things we don't like of ourselves. And so I really like how it's taught by another teacher is like where you clean the backside of the darkness. So
Mm.
basically, if you have a lot of like, you know, what's the way I specifically want to put it? A lot of negative self-talk, like for me, I'd say like my teeth are crooked, like I got a bunch of gray hair or whatever the dynamics, physical stuff. But then that perceives into a negative loop of a certain thing, and this is just a vessel that we operate in. It's really cleaning all of that off of that darkness off the backside of the mirror, so it's a window, and all you just see is like the goodness that can be produced. And so that self check that you're asking about is really kind of what we talked about earlier on, and it's journaling like your
Mm.
thoughts, right? Like so if you have some perceived negative, like start like writing the positive out about you. Like what are the like I mean, I guarantee you got a friend out there that's like, I love when Ryan does this, and this. Like nobody does it like Ryan does it. And it's like, okay, well, let's harness that. Those are some of your gifts and talents that they don't have, that they wish they had, and so forth. So that's where you can do it because today, just like I spoke earlier, it is like regulating the negative and like not allowing you to go into we call it doom scrolling. I call it like a doom spiral of thought, and it really is whatever can like snap you out of. I have a 5 minute morning reset that anybody can go on to the website ourprotectordevelopment.com. It's free. Just hop on there. Unless it goes to your spam, should get to your email within whatever it takes. And that that's how I start my day every single day because I know that if I don't go to bed on the right side, I'm gonna wake up in the morning on the wrong side. It's the dynamic. So for me, I always it starts at night, goes into the morning. Go to bed on the right side, wake up on the right side. But until you get into that rhythm, like you got to armor yourself up like in the morning before you go out into your day. For me, like I said, I do it before I go to bed. So like when I get up, I'm good. Like I'm good. It takes some work to do it. 21 days to lock in that habit, and then 90 days to just have it so you never really have to worry about it again. It does take maintenance and so forth, but you lock that in as part of your programming. But part of this doom spiral is just regulating yourself, like where you're currently at. Like, so you name 5 things that like you can see. Like, so for me, like, looking at you, I guess I can see 2 pictures in the background. I can see a baseball cap. I can see a blue shirt. I can touch, I can see a microphone. Then you go through it, like 4 things I can touch. I can touch the microphone. I can touch the cap. I can touch my phone. Basically, this will get you out of that negative thought spiral that you're going through or could be having in any moment. When you get a phone call and something bad happens, I don't even know what today, because I just, like, nothing's really bad anymore, because I know when a bad thing happens, it's for the best reason. Like, so it's just one
Mm-hmm.
of those when people are like, I don't get that. How can you think that way? And it's just like, well, tell me what something bad is. And I don't know, is that a bad thing or not? And I'm like, if someone dies, yes, it's terrible or whatever, but like it still happens. And like, so
Yeah.
how are you going to have your mind have the ability to get through it so you're not stuck in a rut for 2 to 5 years, and we hear it, right? Like, it's just like, what's wrong with Janice? Well, Bill died, like, and they're like, yeah, it was 7 years ago, like, kind of thing. And the dynamics of like, how do we, you know, what is your purpose in life at the end of the day? Like, like, I think as a father today, maybe a couple years back, I wasn't the best father, like when I was, drinking and drugging and so forth. But I know, like, today, like having, 2 almost growing, independent young women today, though, is still making sure that like I'm the best father, like, and I live a daily amend in such a way that, like, to see where they're at today is very impressive, because I was probably a massive enabler of just like, money solves all these problems, like we'll take care of everything with money. And, they probably didn't, think about working or becoming independent, because like I took that away from them by not doing a good job teaching or training them in
Mm.
certain aspects. So in its evolution, when it comes to those like wanting to have a check-in with their emotions, it is understanding that like you need to train yourself.
Mm.
It just is one of those things. You want to run a marathon, you might have to start walking, like the crawl walk run method. Sooner or later you're almost running a full marathon before you run the marathon and train them. All those dynamics, it's the same with our minds, it's the same with our emotions, and how we regulate all of it to therefore where you don't have something catastrophic cause you to derail yourself or go into a rut that you can't recover from without the ultimate rock bottom, whatever that is, because everyone's rock bottom looks different.
Yeah.
So
I posted a link to that 5-minute reset on the website. So if anybody's interested in that, you can click through. Is there another practical tool or framework from your book that folks can use this week if they're feeling emotionally overwhelmed?
let's see, which one would we want to use? Yeah, we could go. It's emotion type, typical reaction, and outcome, and like, what would you do to help? So it'd be like, so anger, you gotta, you're gonna react impulsively, right? Like, so how would you, you know, regulate this? Like, it's the power in the pause. So literally, like when you're like about ready to be like, I'm gonna, and you pause, but then you breathe. Is whatever that in the, like, you just breathe. And when you can teach box breathing, that side of it. There's 4 count. It's 4 count in, 4 count hold, 4 count out, 4 count hold. That's super powerful. Resets everything. So sadness in one is you're gonna withdraw socially, right? Like, because
Mm.
there's something that causes you to withdraw. But the first thing you should do with that is to try to connect with somebody, whatever it looks like. It, like I said, um, like to me today, I can, if I'm sad, I'll just like I can connect with myself and I can write, and it's literally like we're good, move on, next slide. Not gonna, but we're talking about months of work here.
Yeah.
So for anxiety, the overthinking piece of it that we kind of talked about earlier, it just, yeah, focus on your present action, where you are, what can you see around you, what can you touch, um, what can you smell, and what can you taste. Seems super crazy, I know, but it's unbelievable how fast that'll allow you whatever you were overthinking about, with that anxiety that you're having, especially when you get into like the smell piece and then the taste, because like you'll be like, oh man, I gotta take the garbage out, like kind of thing, and all of a sudden then you're taking the garbage out, you
Hmm.
totally forgot whatever's going on, or if your house smells amazing and so on and so forth, maybe you get to the taste and really you're like, oh, I had that nasty cheeseburger at lunch. Anyway, it's just wild when you start working through, the five walk down piece of five things you can see, four things and smell. And then, yeah, it's just one to me, like when I think about that today. And then there's also one with that one. Either the cold water on your face or cold water on your wrists works really
Hmm.
well, for the anxiety and overthinking, piece of it. Is a good one. And then, I guess we could talk about fear and joy real quick. Um, fear always, we normally, if we're afraid of something, we avoid it, right? Like,
Hmm.
and the unfortunate thing about it is, like, whatever your greatest like blossoming in life is supposed to be is on the other side of that fear, whatever it looks like. I mean, I think about it for me, like for years, like I was afraid of, like, not so much public speaking, but I think like just, getting up in front of a crowd that I didn't know, because in the military I always knew, went from 30 guys to 200 guys to 700 guys, whatever. Like it's just one of those things. You knew them, so no big deal. But like today, it's like, okay, let's get on in front of a stage 500 people I know. I love that. I think it's better than the five people you know, just because it was something I always avoided.
Hmm.
If I didn't know the people, like I cared what everybody that I did not know thought of me. I don't know you. Who cares? Um, so you just have to acknowledge it and you have to face it. You have to do it. Like I know it's just crazy, but the dynamic of it. Um, and then, yeah, we can talk about, joy, right? Like the side of it where we want to overindulge. This was me actually yesterday. I was thinking about it. I had like big, I don't know, like 3 scoops of like gelato. I don't know, for whatever reason. I hadn't eaten, and I guess gelato was the closest thing. And I was like, sweet, I'm gonna
Hmm.
have like 3 scoops. It was great. Um, but eat it and then stay grounded. And it's like, okay, fine, you did that yesterday. Like today, like, all right, I'm not gonna have any sweets today for sure. Like, because I overindulged yesterday, and just kind of understanding that when we do have the joy side of things, and this regulates through it all. I've gone through this with, okay, removed alcohol, fantastic. Remove, like, the drugs, fantastic. I was a big like, opening nicotine guy, so then remove that. I was a big, caffeine guy, like with the C4 energy drinks or Red Bulls. Okay, cool, remove that. Coffee, remove coffee. Like, so those addictive behaviors still exist. So that something that brings you joy and you overindulge in, possibly whatever that looks like, is understanding that like you should appreciate it, but you need to stay grounded in it, and knowing that, like, um, I still haven't ruled out the sugar thing. I should. It's the most inflammatory element under the sun,
It's
especially
hard though.
if you've
Sugar's
had
in
a lot of
everything.
injuries. It is. So I don't know. We're not there. That's the last one.
Yeah.
That's the Super Mario Brothers Bowser or whatever. Like the last
The
one I
big
gotta
boss.
beat.
Yep.
Yeah, the big boss. So I don't know. Maybe it's only like once a week. So yesterday was my once a week, maybe, I guess, kind of thing. But yeah, that's the dynamics of, as we look through, you know, you have your emotion type, uh, reaction to it, and then like outcome. Trying to shift that outcome is what you're trying to do. So, um, sounds like a lot of work, but as you practice it, it'll become, where you'll like, yeah, I want to not have this, and this, and then you're like, and it's hard because like then that might mean that you don't have so and so as a friend, you don't have so and so as this, or you don't do this anymore, or whatever it looks like. But just realizing that like the greatest good will come from all that hard work. It's just it pays off.
If someone's in a low point and hears this, what is one message you want them to carry with them?
You're not alone,
Mm.
and you can completely get through this. Reach out to whoever your one person is. And I know someone out there's like, I don't have anybody. I'm like, I guarantee you have somebody. I mean, I live in an apartment complex where I'd be like, I don't know anybody, and I guarantee that I know 10 people, but it's just like immediately thinking about it. But yeah, just know you're not alone, and it's talk to somebody, tell the truth. Just tell people how you're feeling. It's okay. Like the everyone judges everybody. Like, so don't like think like, oh, they're gonna judge me. Don't worry, they already were judging you. Like, it's one of those things that, just be okay with yourself and talk to people about it. Like that to me is where I found the most, is just being brutally honest. And I know I lost people over it, and then I gained a whole lot more cool people, from it. So it's one of those dynamics that just I know it sucks when you're in that low spot. It's hard. It's really hard. And yeah, people love you.
Yeah.
That's the thing of it. I mean, I think that all the time. How many people, and maybe they haven't told you, but they do love you.
Yep. And if you are sitting there thinking like, "Oh, I really have no one that I can talk to." I just posted a link to our community Discord, and there's so many people in there who will love you. So you do have someone. If you're hearing this and you're thinking I don't have anyone, you absolutely do, because we've got a whole community of people who are there to support one another. So they're there. You got them. Bite Mark would like to know, what is your favorite poem?
Ooh, ooh. All right, I'm gonna delve into the Icarus effect because I know I have it here. It's on page 96 and 97. It's My Best Friend by Beth Sundberg. And it was really interesting. My mom gave me two of Beth's books last year. And, I just started reading them. She's from North Dakota, a little bit of ways from where I grew up. And, yeah, there's so many of her poems were just so amazing. But yeah, My Best Friend by Beth Sundberg. And, yeah.
I'll have to find that one. That one's not, I'm not familiar with that one, so I'll have to go find that one for sure. Beth Sundberg, Sundberg.
Yep.
Okay, cool. I will look that one up for sure, because that one I'm not familiar with. What is your favorite life hack?
Ooh, favorite life hack. Oh man, what would be my favorite life hack? Simple. I'm trying to think what.
Yeah, I mean, like anything that helps gamifying chores. You were talking about the go do one dish. That's an example of a life hack. And then,
Yeah.
or something
No,
like freezing grapes to chill white
no,
wine with, or tying a piece of fabric to your
no. I'm
luggage
just
so you
trying to
can
think of my
spot it, or yeah.
favorite one. Oh man. I mean, I really do like overnight oats, like with
Hmm.
blueberries and agave, almond milk. I don't know, having that done. So I think just, I have a say, and it's Ryan, you're not lazy. Humans are lazy, which makes you lazy, unfortunately. And so the dynamic is, I like it when they're kind of like mushy or whatever. So, anyways, that's
Yeah.
probably it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I do overnight oats as well, because I don't want to have to make a decision in the morning. I'm just like, nope. I need something I can just be like, yes, that's done. I'm gonna take it out of the refrigerator, and that's what I'm gonna have. That's because otherwise it's gonna be just a point in my day where I'm like, I don't want to do this. I'm grumpy. It is
Absolutely.
time for the magic moment. So those of you who are here and you've been here before, you know that we are coming to the end of the stream. If you have any questions for Ryan, make sure to get them in now. But Ryan, if you could wave a magic wand and eliminate one common opinion or misconception surrounding mental illness, disabilities, or talking about mental health, what would it be?
I think that you have to have scars to show that you've had something painful or hurtful or
Mm,
whatever happened to you. Um, it's I've thought that for, with my dad, I thought that for myself, one of those ones where it's like, I have blessed, right? I didn't lose any, appendages or anything like that, wasn't maimed or such a way, but for whatever reason, all the things that I've had to go through in my life, yeah, carrying certain things for whatever reason, and to be unseen, and how that just can paralyze us for certain portions of our life, and for some people, it paralyzes them forever, and
hmm
that dynamic of it is, um, the unseen scar, right? Like it can be some of the greatest pain someone can carry. So yeah, it's that's the one to me always. I just hope with me carrying my voice out there, and whatever it looks like in writing, speaking, and so on and so forth, that others tell us, because that's like the not the easiest way, but the greater, if you have shame from it or whatever, way to take it off of you.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to post all of your socials one more time, website, Facebook, so folks can connect with you. And while I'm doing that, I will just give you the floor to say anything that we didn't get to cover, or anything you wanted to make sure to throw out there. I'll just give you the floor while I post your links one more time.
Oh, I just want to thank you so very much. I mean, without your platform, I'm not here talking. And no, I mean, it's if you're looking for just someone to listen, ourprotectordevelopment.com. Hit me up. I just love listening and have engaging conversations. There's no pressure ever to, think that having a having a coach and all that, doesn't come right off the bat. There's a conversation, just as much as you'd want me to be your coach. Like, maybe we're not a good fit, but I know another coach that'd be even better, and so on and so forth. So the dynamic is, it just we can heal each other through, amazing conversations. I've learned to be a really good listener over the last couple of years, and then do have many tools under the sun to help people go through what I've gone through. And I know it's not easy, so it takes a lot of work on both each other's account. And but yeah, thanks everybody who was listening tonight, and thank you so very much for hosting.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of tools under the sun. That had to be an Icarus effect reference, right? Had to be, had to be. Well, thank you so much again just for joining, taking the time out of your day. I really appreciate you coming here and sharing your story with us and talking us through all these emotional highs and lows, and the understanding that we can come to, and the work we can put in to really build that resilience and that perseverance in ourselves. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, folks, give me just a minute to disconnect with Ryan. I will be right back. Stick around.